President of the United States, but tell me what you think it is that folks in New Orleans need and want to hear from the President of the United States.
I think they're going to want to hear more details in regards to the extent to which the FBI will go to find out just how wide of a web was cast between the known suspect that was behind the wheel of the pickup truck and what officials are saying were his accomplices. You know, we are getting reports of a nearby house fire that officials have said is connected to the attack. There's surveillance video that shows three men and one woman placing an explosive device in the French Quarter. So these are things I think, understandably, they have people on edge, and anything that, you know, the president and any other leader for that matter can say to assure people that they're safe while the investigation occurs, I think would be helpful.
And just to clarify, the FBI has updated the information on, and NBC News is reporting that the three folks who were believed to potentially have acted in conjunction with the main suspect turns out to simply have been bystanders. That one point has been clarified, but I hear you on the broader point. This is also a city that is got a big calendar coming up, the Sugar Bowl, which was supposed to, as you well know, be today, postponed to tomorrow. The Super Bowl, of course, the iconic celebrations of Mardi Gras. I'm going to go now to the President of the United States.
Oh, I can speak for all Americans when I say our hearts are with the people of New Orleans after the despicable attack that occurred in the early morning hours. To all the families of those who were killed, to all those who are injured, to all the people of New Orleans who are grieving today, I want you to know, I grieve with you. Our nation grieves with you. We're going to stand with you as you mourn and as you heal in the weeks to come. I want to thank our brave first responders and law enforcement personnel who stopped the attacker in his tracks before he could kill or injure even more people. And I want to thank you to everyone at the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, including the FBI, for working non-stop to investigate this heinous act. The FBI is leading the investigation to determine what happened, why it happened, and whether there was any continuing threat to public safety. Here's what we know so far. The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack. Possible explosives were found in the vehicle as well, and more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid, and the investigation has a preliminary stage. And the fact is that right now, there you go. The law enforcement and intelligence community are continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators. We have nothing additional to report at this time. The investigation is continuing to be active, and no one should jump to conclusions. I've directed my Attorney General, the FBI Director, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the head of the National Counterterrorism Center, and the intelligence community to work on this intensively until we have a full and complete information. And once we have that information, I will share that information as soon as we can confirm it. Additionally, we're tracking the explosion of a cyber truck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Law enforcement and the intelligence community are investigating this as well, including whether there's any possible connection with the attack in New Orleans. Thus far, there's nothing to report on that score at this time. I directed my team to make sure every resource is made available to federal, state, and local law enforcement to complete the investigation in New Orleans quickly and to make sure there's no remaining threat to the American people. We'll support the people of New Orleans as they begin the hard work of healing. New Orleans is a place unlike any other place in the world. It's a city full of charm and joy. So many people around the world love New Orleans because of its history, its culture, and above all, its people. So I know, while this person committed a terrible assault on the city, the spirit of our New Orleans will never, never, never be defeated. It always will shine forth. We've seen that time and time again throughout its history, and I know we'll see it again in the days and weeks ahead. May God bless the people of New Orleans. May God bless our police and our first responders. May God protect our troops, and we'll keep you fully contemporaneously informed. Thank you.
All right, now let's go to the very beginning when I first started recording here. Bear with me just for a second. In the information that was already given, or had been given, that you know good and well the president knowed about.
Us less safe in this moment.
I'm going to go a little bit further back, sorry. Getting ready to stop it. Right. Right about there.
Before he was honorably discharged in 2020. What we do not know yet is how he might have become radicalized to commit mass violence.
Let's back up a little bit. Let's get what you just said. Stop right there.
And Eastern tonight, we're going to bring that to you as soon as we have it. We are also learning more about the deadly attack in New Orleans early this morning, including about the suspect.
Well, let's go on back. I didn't know what was going on there. I'm sorry. Go forward. Go forward. Go forward.
Informed of the
Just another commercial. Okay, stop.
As we come on the air, we are learning that there will be a press conference at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department headquarters at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. We're going to bring that to you as soon as we have it. We are also learning more about the deadly attack in New Orleans early this morning, including about the suspect, Shamsuddin Jabbar. He's an American citizen from Texas, and he served on active duty in the Army as an administrative clerk for nearly a decade, including a deployment to Afghanistan before he was honorably discharged in 2020. What we do not know yet is how he might have become radicalized to commit mass violence, or whether he had any help along the way. Back with me, Frank Figliuzzi, and joining us, Javed Ali, who worked for more than 20 years in the Pentagon, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security. He now teaches counterterrorism at the University of...
I didn't realize this, but down at the bottom, they moved it from 10 being dead to 15 being dead. I don't know if you noticed that or not, down on the very bottom.
Michigan. It is good to see you both. Javed, I want to begin with you. I had asked Frank Figliuzzi earlier, what about this suspect most surprised him? He pointed both to the suspect's age, to the fact that he had disappeared for a period of time, did not have a significant digital footprint. With the little that we know, what stands out to you?
Well, thanks for having me this evening. And based on what's come out about this individual, he seems to fit the very randomized pattern of other individuals we've seen for more than 20 years in the aftermath of 9/11, of people who fall down these sort of rabbit holes of radicalization as Americans, and there's no profile for this. I actually looked at this for a long time in my different government positions, and we were searching to see if there was some kind of set of common factors or patterns of behavior or things that would help law enforcement and intelligence to sort of get more upstream of this kind of activity to stop threats. And despite all of that analysis, we couldn't really, at the end of the day, come up with any grand insights on this. So we're going to find out that with this person, it probably took a combination of factors that drove him over a several-year period to committing this type of attack.
But for those who are watching and say, how could someone who served in the U.S. military be radicalized? How could they carry out an attack like this? What do you say to them?
Well, unfortunately, we've already seen another example of this. If your viewers remember, in 2008, Major Nidal Hassan
Texas.
in Fort Hood, Texas,
Fort Hood.
murdered several of his fellow Army soldiers because he also had fallen under the spell of jihadist radicalization for quite a long period of time. And rather than trying to commit an attack outside an Army base, he did it to his fellow soldiers in a mess hall, actually. And he was a major and a medical doctor. And so a very different kind of profile from the person who committed the attack last night. But it's not, we've seen this before where other folks with military backgrounds have fallen into this. And the same thing goes for individuals and the other sort of end of the ideological spectrum of white supremacy, neo-Nazi. There are lots of people also with former military and law enforcement backgrounds. So this is another really troubling aspect of radicalization and extremism in the United States.
Frank, we keep talking about potential ties to ISIS. Can you give us a sense of how that then becomes investigated, substantiated by law enforcement?
Yeah, I mean, think of this as an inverse pyramid. You start big with regard to the intelligence community and our allies internationally, who will be asked, I'm sure they've already been asked, do you have anything on this individual, any indication that he's experienced training, he's traveled and been radicalized? You got anything at all? And if that answer comes back no, and even if it comes back yes, then the pyramid gets tighter as we get into his residence and his devices, which is already happening. And you look for this kind of more localized radicalization, online radicalization. What is he watching? What are the videos? Are there radical sermons? But, you know, as Javed has referenced, there's no magic formula here. Many people who are even martyring themselves don't fit a certain cookie cutter profile because they've got many other things going on in their lives that lends them to this recruitment scenario. There's something other than true belief in violent jihad that gets people to this point. Often, not always, but.
And that's the part that I continue to keep telling people about regarding the spirituality of this, working through various people through various religions, that is basically nothing but a smokescreen of trying to promote itself as being good, but in reality, it's just the very opposite. It's bad. These are the things that Christ told us about. He said in the last days, they would come in sheep's clothing, but would be raging, ravening wolves inside. So whenever it comes to this approach, basically coming from the Muslim world, this isn't nothing new. A matter of fact, these are the very people that attacked us during 9/11, that originated over in Saudi Arabia. These are the things that it talks about in the King James Version Bible pertaining to the old Persian Empire that even God himself hates. Even God himself hates. Balak, Balaam, if you study the history of where all that originated from. And now it's over here. And to end this, because I don't want this video to be very long, you know good and well, because I had to back up give or take about probably 30 to 45 minutes, in addition to the president's speaking. But you know good and well that the president knows about all this stuff. Why didn't he indicate none of this stuff? Why didn't he talk about the details of all this stuff? They never do. I know this. There was a state senator early this morning that was talking, and I forgot his name now, but he was telling his people that the White House is going to have to come clean in telling the people what is going on, indicating that he knows something about our government that is still not exposing the true identity of the whole truth versus only bits and pieces of it. It's awful. It's absolutely horrifying to think that we live in a country that has become so wicked and so demoralizing, pertaining to it being so violent. It is demoralizing to think that we cannot get a handle on this. And I'm telling you right now, the handle is a spiritual handle pertaining to Satan coming down in great wrath because he knoweth his time is short.
To be able to martyr themselves.
For those of you who are just joining us, President Biden will be speaking at 6:30. We will take that live as soon as we have it. Joe, I've asked.
Okay, it's 6:30, and what is that, 6:27? So less than 10 minutes, Biden's going to be speaking, which you've done already heard what he said. So there you go there, in him not telling the whole truth and only bits and pieces of it. The people are getting sick of this. They really are. They're getting sick of it. And I don't blame them at all towards wanting to speak out. Speak out. You got all these people that get on TV,
The next question,
and they'll tell us they're C-15 dead. They'll tell us these hypothetical scenarios. Well, what if this, and what if that, and how about this, and how about that? That's not what the people want to hear. The people want to hear, how in the hell is this going to stop? That's what the people want to hear. The people want to hear that our great nation is safe and productive, and we can get out on the streets and be ourselves once more again. That's what the people want to hear. But the people once more hear all this rambling, and it don't matter if it's on one news agency or another one. You hear the same thing again and again. It doesn't matter if it's a school shooting. Doesn't matter if it's somebody going into a church, a synagogue, a school, a theater, a nightclub, or whatever. It's all got to do with our government not being in control. So what has happened? Well, I continue to keep telling people what has happened, going back to the core of origin right here in Northwest Tennessee, and I keep getting ignored. So get ready to see more of this coming near a neighborhood near you until we, the people, decide that enough is enough. I hate to say it that way, but it's the truth.
To be asked is, why was the sidewalk not protected? There are a lot of unanswered questions as it relates to that, but one thing is for certain, as the governor said, with no uncertain terms, we will identify whatever the weakness was and fix it. Making sure that the citizens and visitors that come to New Orleans are safe is paramount.
I'm just curious, are you concerned that there was so much energy and focus in the city on the upcoming Super Bowl and even the Sugar Bowl, but really the Super Bowl? Because our understanding is some of the bollards were being repaired for the Super Bowl. Do you have any concern that maybe that dynamic was at play here in terms of maybe not
trying to juggle too many balls?
Should have been?
Well, listen, our bollard should have been correct and fixed for even the Sugar Bowl. We manage major events in the French Quarter and in the city of New Orleans with conferences, with Mardi Gras, with Jazz Fest, with Essence Festival, Super Bowls and Sugar Bowls every year. It's unacceptable to think that we were preparing for the Super Bowl and potentially left ourselves open for the Sugar Bowl or for New Year's Eve even. We have thousands of people to come to New Orleans to enjoy New Year's Eve, to have our Super Bowl every single year. These resources should have been employed to have rather it was concrete bollards or something else in place of an electronic bollard that may have been faulty.
Congressman, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate your time. And out front next, our breaking news continues. Officials now searching the Houston home of the New Orleans suspect as we have this new video of the suspect coming in. Plus, our Tom Foreman is at the Magic Wall to show you exactly how this deadly attack unfolded turn by turn.
It's awful.
Yet, and I do know that
huge surge of humanity that comes out.
I just don't understand why there is so much emphasis on making sure they're comfortable as opposed to let's identify and expel them from the United States of America.
Well, I think that's right. The president sounded incredibly defensive. He almost seemed relieved that the perpetrator was an American citizen, because if this guy had actually illegally come to the United States across our southern border, he'd have a lot to answer for. Now, he does already have plenty to answer for because the southern border is wide open. We've seen, since President Trump left office, we've seen the number of known and suspected terrorists on the FBI watch list coming into the country go up dramatically. And like, those are just the ones we know about. What about the people who managed to come into the country on the terror watch list, who customs officers, who CBP people never actually encountered in the first place? So today, the person who committed the attack was indeed an American citizen, but let's not take our eyes off the bigger picture here, which is that over the past 4 years, millions of people have come into the country. We have no accountability on who they are, and we have to take seriously the risk, the threat that some of these people may be here to do us harm.
Exactly.
Nathan, thank you. All right, we'll have more, or much more, on the terrorist attack in New Orleans and the explosion at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas when we get back. Stay with us.
Addresses connected to this suspect that carried out the terror attack in New Orleans. FBI officials also confirming that this search is related to that investigation. And as you mentioned, we are learning more about this suspect, who in several various sources that we've been able to comb throughout the day, the suspect had been battling some financial troubles, worked in real estate and information technologies systems, and studied that as well. But in court documents we've been able to reveal, he talked about the financial struggles that he had been going through in recent years. From 2019 to 2023, he had a real estate license here in Texas. But in court documents connected to he was sued by the mother of 2 of his children back in 2012 over child support payments. And in some of those documents, we've learned that in recent years, he talked about being carrying debt of nearly $30,000, owing credit card debt, and also struggling to make payments on his home. We've also come across a YouTube video that was posted back in 2020 about the time that he was getting into real estate here in Texas. Now, the video is described as a personal introduction, and this is what he said on that video.
So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist.
And Pamela, you know, this is back here in this North Houston neighborhood where officials here have been very tight-lipped throughout the day, not saying much exactly as to what has been happening here at this search, but that this search continues, and it's been going on for several hours now. Pamela?
All right, thanks so much, Ed. I want to go now to former FBI Supervisory Special Agent Rob D'Amico. Rob, Ed just laid out the suspect and his history. How does someone like that become so radicalized and do something like this?
Well, I think part of it...
Exactly, because if you're leaning on the excuse of being financially strapped, do you have any idea how many people right now are financially strapped in America? You don't see them getting out here committing evil, demonic, cruel acts like this. Running over people like... running over bowling ball pins. I hate to say it like that, but in reality, that's what the guy was doing. And to think that he was involved with human resources, whoa. Sure didn't want to be underneath. Sure didn't want to be in front of him, in behind his desk.
Part of it is
Ain't no telling what he would have done.
all the free keepsake app. We would love a chance.
Or ain't no telling what that he wouldn't have done that he should have done. I don't know.
With Fox News Channel.
It sounds really, really weird. And once more, it's got to do with spirituality, with the spirituality concept of it. This isn't all about just one thing.
Powerful cough relief.
Well, I guess I'm just scrolling here and trying to figure out where I am. Trying to get back on that other program I was talking about.
You're worth it. I want.
I keep missing it. I can't find it here.
It seems like forever ago, right? It's really like a dream. The current president was actually running for re-election at one point.
Let's go back to this for a second.
That someone who's been thinking about it to do something. And I think that's exactly what happened. And they should have planned better. I hate to go back, but like if you couldn't get a vehicle close to Times Square, they blocked those roads off with dump trucks and sand trucks and cement trucks, everything that a vehicle like that, a pickup truck's not going to get through, because they know they need to protect that inner space. So I think you're seeing things that this city, I don't want to say they didn't take it seriously, but if you're just going to put one car, I guarantee if the sidewalk wasn't open, that pickup truck could have pushed that one patrol car. That was traffic enforcement. That's not blockading a vehicle with someone with an intent to do this. And I think it's going to change it. Like 9/11 changed air flight security. This event is going to really change some of the ways that they look at true security of large gatherings of people where they're vulnerable.
Venues.
Rob D'Amico, thank you.
Coincidence, I don't know, but what I can tell you is we're absolutely investigating any connectivity to what happened in New Orleans, as well as other attacks that have been occurring around the world. We're not ruling anything out yet, Dana.
Joining us now for more is Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty.
Now, do you think that's coincidental that all of a sudden something like that happens in front of the Trump Hotel? I don't know. Seems pretty suspicious to me. But once more, whenever you're dealing with the supernatural, whenever you're dealing with the spirit world, and that's one thing that Christ never did do. He never underestimated his enemy. He never gave the enemy the benefit of the doubt. He knew exactly where he stood with his adversary pertaining to Satan being out to kill, steal, and destroy. That was the author of confusion, and that he was a murderer from the beginning. And that's how Christ characterized him from the time that he started, from the time that he ended. And as far as I'm concerned, he still characterizes the Luciferian Lucifer in the same category, even to this day. That won't never change.
With the latest, Marianne.
Yeah, good evening, Jason. Well, just a few hours after that deadly terrorist attack in New Orleans, the Tesla Cybertruck exploded and caught fire outside the Trump Towers in Las Vegas. This just in from Elon Musk, who posted on X, "We have now confirmed that the explosion was caused by very large fireworks and or a bomb carried in the bed of the rented Cybertruck and is unrelated to the vehicle itself. All vehicle telemetry was positive at the time of the explosion." Sheriff Kevin McMahill, who you just heard speaking, says firefighters put that fire out, which revealed several canisters and large firework mortars inside. The truck exploded in front of the Trump building just before 9 o'clock this morning, injuring 7 people, reportedly with minor injuries. McMahill saying the Tesla truck seemed to take the brunt of that blast, with the glass front doors of the building still intact.
There were multiple persons with injuries located around the vehicle. In total, as the sheriff said, there were 7 minor injuries, 2 of which were transported to UMC, again for minor injuries, and there is 1 fatality within the Cybertruck.
Law enforcement is investigating a number of leads, but have not identified the person who died inside that vehicle. Sources telling Fox News the vehicle was last seen on surveillance camera driving past the valet section of the Trump Tower an hour prior to the incident, and then returning and stopping at the front doors. The vehicle was stopped for approximately 15 seconds before it exploded. President Biden addressing the nation just moments ago, saying that this incident is still under investigation and has offered federal assistance. The investigation is ongoing, and we do expect to learn more in the coming hours. Jason?
Thank you. Do appreciate it.
Now, once more, I just wonder how come the president didn't even mention this, because I didn't even know this occurred. I've been outside doing some things. I can't just stay glued to the TV 24/7. I got more things to do with my life other than to watch the news. But I'm just saying, the president never did mention anything about that car in front of the Trump Tower. Why didn't he? Once more, they want to smooth things over and give the people just enough information to hold their curiosity down. In the meantime, you got people that's dying and being hurt and injured all around us. So I'm kind of like the interview this morning, early interview, whenever I guess it was the senator that was talking, that basically said that the White House knew what was going on and that they need to reveal it to the public. Good luck to all of us on this January the 1st, 2025, brand new year. Shalom. And heaven help us all.